Musculoskeletal disorders. Musculoskeletal disorders are the most common injury sustained by Victorian construction workers. Hallmarc has a role to play to ensure the hazards and risks that often cause MSDs are being identified and adequately controlled. The leading cause of MSDs is hazardous manual handling. The second most common cause of MSDs are slips and trips. MSD means an injury, illness, or disease that can arise from hazardous manual handling in the workplace. They can occur suddenly or develop over a period of time. For example, carpal tunnel syndrome is an example of an MSD. MSDs can have significant and long-term impacts on workers' health and can end careers. In the last 5 years, WorkSafe has accepted over 6,200 compensation claims made by construction workers for MSDs. Around 60% of those workers required more than 4 weeks off work. Hazardous manual handling is the leading cause of MSDs. Hazardous manual handling means work requiring the use of force to lift, lower, push, pull, carry or otherwise move, hold or restrain. For example, a task involving one or more of the following: repetitive or sustained application of force, sustained awkward posture, tasks requiring a single or repetitive use of high force that a worker would reasonably find difficult. There's also exposure to sustained vibration, as well as unstable or unbalanced loads or loads that are difficult to grasp or hold. Slips and trips are the second most common cause of musculoskeletal disorders for construction workers. Slips and trips can also result in lacerations, fractures, impalement and head or facial injuries. Slips and trips often occur due to poor housekeeping, for example, failing to keep access ways clear of material and waste. Controlling the risks. Employers must, so far as is reasonably practicable, identify any hazardous manual handling and eliminate any risk of an MSD associated with that hazardous manual handling. If it is not reasonably practicable to eliminate the risk of an MSD associated with hazardous manual handling, an employer must reduce the risk. Duty holders, typically builders and contractors, can reduce the risks of common MSDs by applying some basic risk control measures like the ones outlined next. Use the hierarchy of control for hazardous manual handling. In the first instance, eliminate so far as is reasonably practicable, all or part of the risk of musculoskeletal disorders. For example, organize off-site manufacturing of wall panels and roof trusses. Arrange for bulky materials to be delivered to the final work location. Or use mechanical load-shifting devices such as cranes, material hoists, or forklifts to move materials around the site. Next, reduce, so far as is reasonably practicable, any remaining risk by changing the workplace layout, the environmental conditions, where the task is undertaken, or the systems of work used, or by using mechanical aids. For example, provide equipment such as trolleys to move materials, or height access equipment like elevated work platforms to reduce employees reaching or working above their head. Provide lifting points or handles for heavy or awkward loads. Provide gloves to assist with gripping when lifting or carrying items, particularly in wet or dry conditions. And use job rotation or work variation to reduce exposure to repetitive work or work that requires significant amount of force. Lastly, on the hierarchy of control. Reduce, so far as is reasonably practicable, any remaining risk by providing information, instruction, and training. Some basic risk control measures for slips and trips. Ensure all site slip and trip hazards are identified and risks controlled. This may include keeping access ways clear of materials and waste, installing ramps at changes in surface levels, fixing down any raised floorboards or sheets, filling in and compacting surface penetrations, using extension lead stands or hooks, limiting mud with crushed rock and by having boot scrapers, and by carrying out regular site cleanups and inspections.
Each year, around 30% of Victorian work cover claims relate to injuries caused by hazardous manual handling. Manual handling is part of almost every job. It's work that involves lifting, lowering, pushing, pulling, carrying, moving, holding, or restraining something. Manual handling work can also become hazardous in certain situations, putting workers at risk of an injury. These injuries are generally referred to as musculoskeletal disorders, or MSDs. Aches and pains from work might seem minor, but MSDs can lead to long-term disablement. Think about your workplace. How are the risks associated with hazardous manual handling controlled? The WorkSafe website houses tools and information to help you identify and control the risks associated with hazardous manual handling. Let's look at 3 easy-to-use tools that can help you identify hazards and control risks in your workplace. These interactive tools support Appendix B, C, and D in the Compliance Code Hazardous Manual Handling, an important reference document for all employers and OHS professionals. The Hazardous Manual Handling Identification tool can be used to identify and record work involving postures, movements, or forces that are hazardous. The Pain and Discomfort Survey is a great way to consult with workers who perform manual tasks and may be experiencing pain as a result. The Hazardous Manual Handling Risk Assessment and Control tool can help with the development of risk controls in your workplace. Next, you'll find helpful industry-specific information and guidance. There are educational videos too. Learn about manual handling, what can make it hazardous, and how to avoid MSDs. Employers can also learn about their manual handling OHS obligations. Posters are available for order or download. They remind workers that work should never hurt and provide industry-specific safety tips. From real-life case studies to educational workshops, there is something on the website for everyone. Subscribe to our manual handling updates to be kept up to date with new tools, resources, and tips to help you continuously improve safety in your workplace.
Thank you for your time.